Hi everyone, welcome to another interesting live from ICANN India Action Network, which is the COVID India Action Network. Today we're going to open the ICANN conversations with three very esteemed guests. But prior to that, I'd like to introduce to you what ICANN is a little bit. So ICANN, which is the India COVID Action Network, it is an initiative to help the underprivileged communities that have been hardest hit during COVID. It is a unique movement to combat those who are in need of help and those who can provide it. Our COVID India Action warriors are working from home and they're activating their on ground community networks and mobilizing resource providers in order to connect the two and ensure that the vulnerable sections of the society are able to sustain themselves through these difficult times. Also, the COVID warriors are spreading across different states of the country and are steadily growing day by day. Now to go on and introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Anuradha Deshpande. I'm the facilitator for today's session, round of ICANN Conversations. And to introduce our panelists, today we have three wonderful guest panelists who are online. So with the number of to introduce the topic first a little bit actually. So with the number of coronaviruses cases crossing 4 lakh mark as of today, India is now ranked fourth after United States, Brazil, and Russia on the list as the worst hit countries by the COVID-19 disease. With the population like India, it is bound to see that the cases are increasing over time, and it's worrisome because we have such a large population, and panic is also growing with the situation. So, but across, whilst we're going through all of this, there's also a little silver lining to this entire situation that the recovery rate has now positively increased to a 55%. So let's celebrate that for a moment. And so today's webinar mostly also focuses on this particular aspect of things, which is the numbers and the impact of it on mental health. Now, let us, just go through a round of, who are the panelists are today, who are these three wonderful people joining us today. So number one on board that we have is Dr. GC Kavita. She's the National Coordinator for ICANN Wellness, and she's also popularly known as the Dasu woman. Welcome on board, Dr. Kavita. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Dr. Aarti, who is a specialist in Ayurvedic procedures and also an associate professor in the Department of Panchkarma. Welcome on board, Dr. Aarti. We're glad to have you here. Thirdly, we have Professor Raghunath, who is a psychologist by profession and a peace ambassador for India and peace counselor for Asia. Welcome on board, Dr. Raghunath. We're glad to have you here. So we should be starting today's ICANN conversations with a round of questions posed to the panelists that we had planned to pose to the panelists today. So my first question is for you, Dr. Kavita. So Dr. Kavita, as per a certain study, the first thing that the people regularly nowadays especially are doing in the morning is to check their WhatsApp and social media and to interact with their social media. Now with COVID in the place and news apps and all are just blowing up and everything, people are just keeping an eye on that constantly. Now you know that all of us are going through this. So what do you think is the impact of knowing these numbers first thing in the morning and having that thought as the first thing in the morning and then carrying that thought throughout the day, and how do you think it affects people's daily schedule, or how do you think one can come out of this sort of a situation?
Thank you for the kind introduction, Vishuddha. It's to really start the talk. And so I think nowadays, how we usually listen to a prayer in the morning, listening to the news in the morning has become a habit for many, as you rightly pointed out. There is one study, put up by the Harvard Business Review. There is an indication that a minimum 3 minutes listening to a news that is going to panic you. I would not call it a bad news because bad is a very relative term. See, probably what is bad to one need not be bad to the other. So a news that is going to panic you, if you're listening to that news for a minimum of 3 minutes, there are 27% whooping chances that your day is going to have that negative emotions that is pulled on for at least 6 to 7 hours. It's been a study that's been proved and that's been done by the positive psychologists. It's been published as well. So because the reason why we need to start with the negative news, because we are worried, we really do not know what we have to do. We feel that some kind of uncertainty is happening all over. So there is a pulling, there is a pulling, and there is a thought process in the mind that we need to know what is happening, and then we want to come out of that uncertainty, because no human is pretty safe in that uncomfort zone. So that is the reason why the mind pulls you on to listening to, seeing what exactly is the issue now. At least what is the issue now. But what is actually happening? Anything that is not so motivating, that is not so motivating for a person, it eventually leads to the lesser performance. That is the first thing. And it also deletes the possibilities. Because when the mind is clear, when the mind is positive, when there is a lot of positive outlook on the situation, the mind starts seeking the possibilities. You will find the resources. In the resources, you happen to see the possibilities. But when you start with a block, there is something called the learned helplessness. Because at times, even the behavior of a person cannot really solve the problem. Let us say the case of COVID-19. We know that the problem is existing, and we know the cases are increasing. But anything from as an imparting from our behavior is not eventually going to change that. We need to be a part and parcel of it. As long as we are a part and parcel of the learned helplessness, this is only going to pull in a lot of hopelessness in us, and then eventually there are more possibilities to get into depression as well. That is the reason why even culturally, India being a country with strong cultural values, there's been always a state that start with the morning prayer. Even at the schools, we do with the morning prayer. It's all to imbibe that positivity into the mindset. So, your next question, like, how do we really bring in that positivity into the whole aspect? I think the first thing is try to make it a habit, or try to force yourself into a habit that you are not going to touch the phone at least for 3 to 4 hours after waking up. Because let us say you wake up at 6 o'clock, till 9 o'clock, everybody knows that is the time you are busy with some schedule of your day-to-day routine. So I don't think there is some big thing that is going to happen until there is a call and you see that is some emergency, don't attend to it. And second thing is turn off all the notifications that are, put up on your phone, some buzzers that keep coming in, put it off. And if possible, switch off the phone, or try to at least put it in a silent mode. Try to put it in a silent mode. Don't get so much attached to what is happening in the virtual world. I think the focus should be more for yourself. The focus should be more on the real-time world you are in right now. So if the focus is on that, that is really going to make you positive even in this real-time world. Try to see positive things the moment you wake up, or at least for the waking up of hours of 1 hour or so. Try to do as many positive things. Listen to some songs that's going to make you happy, or do some activity, or just be in nature, breathe some fresh air, or do some pranayama, or you can do anything, but ensure that you are with your own positive self and you are with a positive surrounding self. If you are doing it, there are higher chances that you'll have a very positive day to really look forward. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Dr. Kavita, thank you so much for your response. I think that was wonderful insight that you shared into how we can, bring in a lot more, work through barriers such as learned helplessness in our daily, life, and the way that we are moving through this particular virus situation. My next question is for Dr. Aarti. So Dr. Aarti, my question to you is that using Ayurveda as a preventative health measure has been relevant in Indian culture at all times. But there is a certain emphasis all of a sudden with the COVID-19 situation. There's suddenly an emphasis on using Ayurveda as not just a precautionary measure, but also like a treatment measure. Now, as someone who's an expert from the field, what guidelines would you suggest to, for us to maintain as a general regimen for health, to maintain a healthy mind and body, so to say?
Yeah. Thank you for asking this particular question, because it's very relevant now. And it's surprising that people all of a sudden start thinking about Ayurvedic preventive medicine because they find it is very relevant now than any other time. Absolutely. But I would like to emphasize upon that Ayurveda always gave equal importance both for preventive health as well as for the curative aspect. Ayurveda preventive health is all about keeping one healthy, both mentally and physically, by various means. And a few means I can highlight here. One is the proper daily regimen, then there is a diet regimen, seasonal regimen, and there is good conduct and non-suppression of urges. All these play a big role in helping one to help the maintain the health. Okay, coming to the daily regimen, it all starts with waking up early in the morning and various activities which we do uh, appropriately and timely. They have to maintain the balance of tridosha. I think, I hope at least few of the audience will be familiar with these words. Tridosha means body humors, and then there are tissues. We need to maintain all these in a balanced state. Then only the health can be maintained.
Right.
And then coming to the second point, that is diet regimen. The most important thing is to analyze, because many times I surprised that the people go on asking what type of diet I should take, what type of food the another person is eating. What is most important is self-analysis. We need to understand what is our constitution, what is the suitability, what is my digestive fire. Only then we go for the selection of food. And then comes a big list. What can be taken regularly? What can be taken occasionally? That's also a matter of concern. And the method of preparation or the processing of food is equally important. You need to choose the right kind of spices. Then you need to make the right kind of combinations. You need to plan what I can have for dinner. So many things. And also the time of eating, that matters. And there are do's and don'ts while eating. You cannot sit in front of TV and have your food. There are so many do's and don'ts. All these things really matter the outcome of your eating. And then you cannot have a single type of food throughout the year. Ayurveda tells six types of rutus or seasons. And see, the body is a replica of the environment. When a lot of changes are happening in the environment according to the season, the body also will be influenced by these changes, and one need to change our diet and other regimen according to the season. And seasonal purification is also very much important. Okay, and one more thing I would like to add up here is that the most important concept of Ayurveda is good conduct, or it is called sadvrata. See, there is a lot of interaction going on between the mind, the sensory faculties, and the external objects. So if this interaction is of right kind, then it will be conducive to the health. If there is a wrong interaction or excessive interaction, then it will lead to a lot of disequilibrium in the body. So good conduct is all about taking self-care, taking care of others, taking care of elders, and following the rules and do's and don'ts of the society happily, not with any grumbling, and fulfilling all the obligations very happily. So these are the things which will increase sattvika bhava in our mind, which is very essential for maintaining the health. It is that nobody should become ill. It is not possible. Only thing is we have to accept the fact as such. And good conduct also tells you that we should always have the awareness of Desha, Kala, and Atma. I will explain it in briefly. Desha is we should have the awareness of where we are living in. Kala is we should know in which time we are moving. And Atma is knowledge of self. See, we have various roles to play in home. And my role will change when I go to the office. And my role will change when I go to an occasion or a get together. So considering these different roles, we need to control our thoughts, actions. That will be very conducive, and it will help us to maintain the health, both of the physic and the mind. I think I have answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think, in fact, you've gone ahead and told us some really wonderful insights, especially that last part. I think it was a great insight into how we can live our lives more with more awareness on a daily basis to our body and our mind, such that the two can be aligned and we can be healthier, especially in times when, we're living in a pandemic time wherein something can affect our health so deeply, or, illnesses can be caused. And as you rightly pointed out, that excessive of everything is really bad. So I think the audience should take that point away very honestly, with a lot of, whatever you said was Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Arti. Thirdly, now I would come to my third panelist, Dr. Raghunath. Dr. Raghunath, my question to you is that whilst we're going, like, since we're keeping it current and we're on the topic of COVID-19, so if we look into homes right now, what is happening is that on one side, there are families that have become more robust through this time and this lockdown. They've been locked in with each other. They've bonded. They are happier with each other. They build more relationship. But on the other side, there's another flip side to it, which says that there is a sudden spike in the number of domestic violence cases during the time, and helplines have been receiving more and more calls during this time about domestic violence happening in homes, etc. So, as a psychologist, what would you suggest we can do to maintain maybe more healthy relationships in the family and maybe prevent such situations from occurring or prevent domestic violence from occurring in the family in this time of lockdown?
Yes, Anubhava ma'am, in fact, I want to give you a shake hand. Instead of that, I'm giving you a namaste.
Namaste, sir.
Because we have to really keep up the social distancing.
Absolutely.
That is most of the thing which we want to communicate as the message.
Absolutely.
First of all, as a psychologist, I will do certain positive things, regarding your questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because psychologists always should, give some positive aspect.
Right, absolutely.
In fact, I've done a research, not research, it is an in-search as far as I'm concerned. It is not a research, in-search regarding the domestic violence. I'm attached with the Kerala government with, certain online counseling project. I am also attached with, some other Indian counseling projects. My time is between 6 to 9, right? It is attached with the central government of India. So the question about the domestic violence you asked, it is comparatively less than the positive aspects happen inside the family. Okay, that is, more communications are there since the parents or the concerned father or the mother is not able to go outside and the children are there. So more positive aspects are developing inside the family. As you rightly pointed out, there are certain cases of domestic violence. But as a psychologist who have done in-search, not research, in-search of this aspect, I want to tell you, it is not happened because of the corona issue or the lockdown. It's a very important thing which I want to communicate.
Truly.
Because it happened, there were some sort of dynamics already available inside the family. It so happened that the dynamic really, bombarded on the COVID point. I think you will also agree as a psychologist, and ma'am also will agree. It is not because of the COVID problem it came alone. See, now the people are not interested in, see, the thing is, teaching them. Instead of that, Anubhava ma'am, with your permission, can I do a exercise so that they can really understand the meaning of the family?
Sure, definitely. So
I to show it to everybody also, because I am only watching you. Otherwise, I would have screwed Kavita ma'am as well as the, my I'm only watching you. See, Anubhava ma'am, you do this exercise. Okay, now you can see my folded hand. You also do that, yeah? I'm a senior. I can command you. I'm right.
Okay. I'm absolutely with you.
Yeah. Because with the love only, I'm telling, because you can understand always. That is also important. The case of a psychologist said, I'm going to ask her also do that. Okay, ma'am. Right. This is exactly the family, ma'am. Right? The folded hand. Kavita ma'am is not doing. Oh, she is doing.
No, I am, sir.
I can watch it. Okay. See, our communication afterwards note should be a message, really. Because when we are sharing something, theoretically, they don't understand. That's why I'm just doing that. Okay. This is the family, man. Okay. Now you are taking your thumb, this is this call. Okay. So this is your sisters. Anubhava ma'am, you can understand?
Yes.
Once they get married, once they are, engaged with some activities,
right?
They can talk to you. Am I right?
Yes.
You do this, yeah? whether they will be, yes, yes, it is doing. I am not watching Kavita ma'am. Anyway, I will ask her to do that. Anyway, we are going to have a 5-star bet. Okay, Anupama, you are ready? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I am in the end of this. This thing, exercise. I am going to have a real bet towards you. Okay, you can send by courier that 5-star, no doubt about
All right. I'll be waiting for my 5-star, sir.
Okay, by courier. So,
Sure.
okay. So your sisters will be parting you. Am I right?
Yes. Okay.
This is your brothers, little fingers. Okay,
Your little finger.
little fingers. Okay, the brothers also can part you, right?
Yes.
When they are getting engaged, when they are going to America, or when they are getting married with somebody with love marriage or something, they will, part you. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. It may be your parents, right? Father and mother, right? Okay, father and mother. Once you get married, or if the father is no more, you can understand because of their age, they will also part you, right? Agreed.
True. They're
You
also.
do it, yeah. Anubhava ma'am, you do it. Otherwise, I am a good professor also. You are doing it. I am a professor, you know that. Ah, yes, now ma'am, I can see real smile also. You can do it. Am I right?
Yes.
Ma'am, these are all your friends.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
1, 2, and 3,
Now
yes.
we have only, less friends as far as the, adolescent days are concerned. They are moved some outside, country or somewhere. No, they are also, moved from you. Am I right? Okay. Now the bet is coming to Anupama ma'am and Kavita ma'am, right?
No.
Okay, ready? Accepted? Kavita ma'am, you are there? No, accepted?
Yes.
Can you move these 2 fingers
No.
apart by closing all these things?
No.
Yeah. Kavita ma'am, whether you are, you can do it or not?
No.
No. What about Anupama? She is
Yes, she has
escaped from
done it, sir. She has done it. Kavita ma'am has also done it.
Yeah.
They're both ready
So,
for the
ma'am
next.
is able to, really, separate the ring fingers, you mean?
Oh,
No.
Not much.
No,
Not much.
we can't do that.
Not much. Not
Not
much.
much.
Not as free as this.
If you are close, no, you can't do that. No,
Yeah.
I will come to Bombay and I will talk about this and we will have a separate bit. You close all your fingers, right? Okay. You are married, Anupama ma'am?
Yes. No, I'm not.
Okay. Kavita ma'am is married, no?
Very much.
Yeah, very much. Okay. See, Kavita ma'am, where you are wearing your wedding finger, ring?
Ring finger.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
you understood the concept. Why we are wearing the wedding ring in the ring finger.
Yeah.
If it is not separated, understood, no, the concept.
Yes.
The
Right.
importance of husband and wife, if it is jointly there will not be any domestic violence. Right? If the communications are very perfect inside the family, if they are happy and if they are joining together, there is no domestic violence at all. So I want to tell you, as a psychologist who is doing not research, research in this field, I'm working with 5 to 6 hospitals, and I also doing a lot of counseling from 6 to 9. Especially in English counseling, it is coming to me. I want to tell you that the domestic violence is there in the COVID time, not started in the COVID time. It is because of some other confusion already available inside the family. That's why, Kavita ma'am, I always used to say to my wife, silence is better than violence. So I don't talk anything about my family. So there is no domestic violence. You know, Kavita ma'am, whenever somebody is a failure inside the family is winning. Am I right, ma'am? Yes or no? So that is the important message I want to pass to Anupama ma'am and Kavita ma'am and all the members who are really watching this session. See, the thing is, domestic violence is not at all there in the coronavirus period. It started earlier. The base is something else. The communication of the family is not there. The care of the family is not there. But Kavita ma'am and me will always say that adjust. But whenever we are getting experience, we used to say that understand, then adjust. Am I right? Kamina ma'am was talking about adjust. Later she changed to understand. Once the understanding is there, there is no domestic violence. I mean, all the family members can even share in a one particular room. They will love each other. They will like each other. They will communicate each other. That is the definition of a family. If Anupama is allowing me, I can also share certain things which Anupama ma'am as well as Kavita ma'am is aware of it. Still, I would like to take a little bit of time of yours and say, family means, first of all, you do this. You take your F, that is the father. Am I right, ma'am? Kavita ma'am, you will be adding something. And that is the A. And the M. Father and mother, I love you. You show this real example to your parents. Then your children also will love. So there the family will be more happy. There will not be any domestic violence. Domestic violence means, I like to tell you, Anubhava ma'am and Kavita ma'am, it started there late, not it is because of the corona problem. Agree or disagree, ma'am? If you are disagreeing, don't say now. You can talk to me later. Okay. With that, I'm concluding. I think I answered the question of Anubhava very well. That is what I feel. I do know. Okay. Thank you, Anubhava.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Raghunath. I think every single time that we feel at a clash with anybody in our families, I think the ring finger practice is a wonderful way to remind ourselves what we actually share with them. And, you know, if the bonds are actually sewed together and if we're
See,
like...
one more thing I want to tell you, Anubhava ma'am, if you are doing that, no, you always thank me and do it.
For sure. So first I'll begin with Namaste and then I'll go on.
Okay.
With the ring finger practice. It's a great way to represent family dynamic and love relationships between people, to say maybe like, you know, there are two forces that are working with and against each other all at once. So I think it was a wonderful analogy. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Raghunath. Moving on, Dr. Kavita, my next question is for you. So as we have experienced in this entire scenario, everything is becoming more virtual, right? So virtual classes are more or less becoming a lifestyle for young children, and this would continue for throughout the academic year for, I mean, months to see. Like we are not seeing the end of this anytime soon, at least for children. So apart from online classes, children are also getting very used to, you know, other social media aspects, and they're also getting very hooked onto gaming. Now parents are noticing this and they feel like they are displaying some sort of psychosomatic, you know, symptoms, for the lack of a better description, like, you know, with lifestyle changes, like they have dry eyes, their fingers hurt, their hands hurt, and they have headaches, etc. So how do you suggest that we could make this, you know, shift to a virtual life a more positive lifestyle change for the child, and the family maybe could come together as a whole and explore this aspect?
Yeah. First, thank you, Raghunath sir, and that's been pretty, interactive and wonderful, in fact. So thank you so much. So moving ahead with your question, Vishuddha.
Yes,
I think the virtual learning is something which is going to be the order of the day, even in the future, because, you know, with so many things that are happening right now, the virtual learning is something that's already started quite some time back, and the people who are working, like who cannot go to the regular colleges, in fact, the virtual learning is one of the best options that they are opting for. Right. So, but when it comes to children, I think the whole problem is with the children and the college students, like who are not so much used to, you know, being still for quite a long time and then, you know, watching the screen. But a blessing in disguise in the whole perspective is like, because with this smartphone addiction that's come into picture, the stillness and sitting at a place for a long time has become pretty comfortable for many. Because I remember 15-20 years back, sitting at a place used to be the most difficult task for many children, in fact, of my age. You know, I mean, I remember my generation back, sitting at a place used to be the most difficult aspect. that sitting in that stillness, that kind of comfort, But nowadays with the smartphone addiction, I would rather call it, with this more smartphone usage, the stillness has become very comfortable for many people, which is actually leading to a lot of psychosomatic diseases. This is what is being said. So I mean, to really understand like what are the impacts of this, as you mentioned, like, red eyes, and then, lack of reading habits, inability to focus on one thing for a long time, because when there is a smartphone with me, I do have a habit of flipping the channels, flipping what I want to see. So, and because when I see something I'm not liking, I'm just flipping on to the next thing. I'm flipping on to that next thing, right? So something which is not of my nature, which is not me, I'm not okay with it. I just want to move on immediately to next thing where I feel there is more comfort. So I think the life of comfort has become the in thing now for many children, exclusively many children. Now with this virtual classes having come into picture, what I noticed, there are a lot of problems that the parents are facing because the younger ones cannot sit. So it is more an online classes for both the parents and the children. This is what is happening. The parents have to sit beside the children to see that children are learning. And there is no eye contact, because usually at an younger age, eye contact and the physical touch are the two most important things that are important, for the learning to absolutely take place, which is not happening. So this is one big gap that is going to happen. And then the third thing is like, because there is no peer relationships that can happen, wherein I discuss, I move out, I talk, there is nothing happening that way. So I'm more to myself. This is the third problem, because of which my social relationships are definitely at a task. And the fourth thing is, apart from learning, my school means it is my physical time, it is my co-curricular time, it is my extracurricular time, along with academics, along with prayer, along with so many activities. But with online classes, the biggest aspect is like only gluing onto a screen is what my learning is. So this is actually making the children to lose out on the real-time experiences of life, and the peer relationships and the social relationships. This is one of the biggest toll that children are facing right now. The reason why I had to talk about this, because parents should realize that there are certain gaps that are being developed because of this virtual learning, and they need to ensure that the gaps are, actually bridged. So talking about, let us say the class is done, and you know pretty well that, your child has not been playing with his or her friends, especially at an younger age. I'm talking about an younger age. So when they're not, and please make it a point to take them down, and see that, they are a part and parcel of the group, of their peer group. They are playing, they are getting their me time to play, or they are getting their me time to have that relaxation. Or if they're already onto some activity at school, let us say the child is interested in artwork or craft work or some work, ensure that the child has a continuity even at home, apart from the online classes, apart from the virtual learning. Because the whole idea is to give a holistic approach of a child's learning experience. I think this is what the parents should be predominantly looking at. And the next important aspect, because I see at many homes now, once this online classes are done, the next best thing is like, children are taking away the gadgets from the parents. If it is the case of adolescents, or they are gaming, or they are on their gaming consoles, or they are actually playing some games on the videos, or some kind of videos. When you talk about adolescents, 24/7, they are on phone, either, sending, I was reading some study somewhere, there are around 140 messages an adolescent sends per day, as per some study. And, the screen time is around 7 to 8 hours per day. This is exactly what is happening. So because of all these things, there is a lot of virtual life what a child is undergoing, whether it's an adolescent or this one. So I think the seriousness has to be understood by the parents, because mostly parents are also pretty busy, because at least parents used to get, as the mothers or fathers used to get some time to have their own me time for themselves, to relax. But now with children 24/7 around them, they are super duper exhausted, to be very honest. The lockdown has actually taken its toll more on the parents, in fact. They are really, really exhausted. And I mean, if I tell them that, take your kid down and then, or make them play or take them out, and, it becomes so easy said than done. Easier said than done. That is exactly what is happening. But what parents have to understand, children are missing the major milestones, the physiological development, the physical development, or the emotional development, mental development, social development, which are all the various forms of developmental milestones in a child, is being missed out. And the children are already missing for the past 2-3 months now. And this is going to continue for the whole academic year, at least for the younger children. I'm not talking about the high middle school graders or the high school graders. I'm talking about exclusively about the pre-primary and primary children. So please do understand that the developmental milestones the child is missing out. So please do see, the timetable of the child, what the child has been doing at school. Try to bring that real time into home. Try to bring that. And next question, as what you asked, like how do they really come out of this, the gadgets? I think now the digital wellness is one of the most, apart from the physical and mental well-being, digital well-being is the most in thing now. That is trending pretty well nowadays with this virtual learning happening all over. So I think digital detox is something that the parents have to keep in mind. Not only the children, Sunday, you are not touching the phones, no matter what it is. So detox, let there be a digital detox. After some time in a day, none, including the adult or the parent should touch the phone. They should keep it somewhere. And then not do it. And let us take the case of adolescents who are so much, inclined to using. There is an emotional, I would say an emotional interest to actually see what is happening every 6-7 seconds. Who has sent a message? Who hasn't sent a message? I can give a very, very, very small tip. They can actually put on their screensaver. Why now? For what? Why do you want to do that? An alert from the phone as a screensaver for them to give a self-alert. Okay, chalo baba, this is not the time you are supposed to see the phone. Okay, and probably they can put an alarm on the phone, and or probably a reminder in the phone, or if they have an Alexa or whatever at home, they can put a reminder stating that, now you can, see this one, probably. So let them actually retrain their mind or rewire their brain to see that they are not addicted to using that. I think even with the children, because children usually they want the phones because they are not being engaged. They are bored. When they are bored, they are anxious. They don't have friends to play. They really do not know what to do. So next best way is to involve in gaming. So just see that as parents, as children, ensure that, I don't have it an easy life to give it away to the children, because I know it's very much easier said than done. But the whole problem is because the child is missing out a major milestone in life, which we cannot regret later. Which we really cannot regret later. I think if these things can be considered, and I think we can have definitely a very positive learning experience, and digital detox should be the mantra. Should be the mantra, and digital well-being should be, like how we've been focusing so much on physical well-being, mental well-being. Let us also be very particular about the digital well-being.
Absolutely agree.
I think if these are followed, definitely, we can move with the technology, but definitely with a healthier approach.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your wonderful response, Dr. Kavita. Personally, a couple of standpoints for me with this particular response would be, I think, and the audience should maybe engage in is, Dr. Kavita just gave out wonderful self-care practices wherein, self-reminders, me time, digital detoxes, these are things that have become absolutely necessary at this point, not for us, like for our children only, although this was in context of children mostly, but like Dr. Kavita very rightly said, in context of adults also. As adults, we can also display behavior that we want our children to maybe, follow. So wonderful insight, Dr. Kavita. Thank you so much for your response. And another question I have now is for Dr. Aarti. So Dr. Aarti, my next question is for you. So most of the situation in one's life compels a person to suppress their physical and mental urges, right? Whatever we go through in life. So as an Ayurvedic expert, what do you think would be the result of this act of suppressing urges that come to you very naturally, both physical and mental? And, even something that a person faces in day-to-day circumstances that we face. And how do we work through it, and how can one establish a balance through this particular situation is my question to you.
Okay, yeah. So Before going to answer your question, I would like just to revise the uh, quotation. We all are very familiar with that. What is health, isn't it? Health is the sum total of a perfect equilibrium of all the body humus, tissues, digestifier, and then there is a perfectly functioning elimination system. And also, all these things should happen in a blissful presence of our mind, sensory faculties, and soul. Then the person is said to be healthy. So physical urges, or we call it natural physical urges. For example, the urge to evacuate, urge to eat food, sneezing, urge to shed our tears, yawning, all these are natural urges.
Right.
And whenever a person tries to suppress these urges due to various reasons, as just now Dr. Kavita mentioned, if you are continuously engaged in some or the other work, people tend to control or suppress their urges. When this happens, we're actually blocking the normal movement of some or the other forces in the body. In case of maturation or evacuation, it's actually a force which needs to or which tries to expel the waste from our body. So when this suppression, due to the suppression, we are actually forcing the body to accumulate the metabolic waste in the body, which in turn will lead to a lot of disturbances in its own system and also somewhere else. Let me cite one or two examples. When we trace the, say, when a patient comes and when we trace the causative factors, many times we will zero in on some or the other suppression of the urges. A person repeatedly getting headache, the cause may be in suppression of the evacuation, suppression of urine, suppression of the sneezing. All this can lead to headache. And there are certain other physical urges like eating or sleeping. When you suppress these urges, you are actually depriving your body tissues of some nutrients. Some people may complain that I don't have appetite. I don't have appetite. There is no meaning in just giving appetizer. It may be habituated because people tend to skip their meals or breakfast. When it is happening repeatedly, then it will lead to a lot of diseases. So physical urges are not to be suppressed. On the contrary, there are on the mental domain, we have urges which are to be controlled. The urges related to our speech, urges related to our thought process, and urges related to our actions. There are extreme emotions of anger we need to control. There are extreme emotions, some may be greedy, some may be jealous. These are the urges to be controlled. And coming to the speech, using very harsh words, or blaming others, or hurting others by our words. These are the mental urges which need to be controlled. And also certain physical actions like violence, all these things needs to be controlled. So Ayurveda gives a beautiful wisdom wherein it tells us what to do and what not to do. That is why Ayurveda is a science, it's not a mere therapeutic system, because it teaches us how to live a life so that you end up in a what I call good health and not in diseases. Only you need to give medicines only when you end up with some diseases. So these wisdom will be helpful for everyone, so that at least now, or we actually train our children to develop good habits so that they will get robust immunity, so that they can face the situations in the form of anything, either physical disorders or mental disorders. Once we are strong, nothing is going to disturb us. I hope it's clear now, because it's a very new concept for some of you. Okay.
Thank you so much for your insight, Dr. Aarti. I think you addressed the question very well and spoke about a lot of things that our audience got. I probably feel like our audience got a lot of insight into their own, maybe physical or mental challenges that they're facing during this time as well. So thank you so much for your response and how they can probably tackle it. Now, lastly, my next question is for Dr. Raghunath. So, Dr. Raghunath, many parents feel that the students have developed like a laid back attitude towards education. I mean, like we spoke about earlier to Dr. Kavita, about virtual education. So they are becoming more and more laid back in their education career, and especially during this time because there are virtual online classes. I mean, people are not, going somewhere. There is no sort of pressure to do anything and just be at home. So, what are your suggestions to revive the lethargic, these practices that are happening with students and to bring them back to, their energetic selves in life?
Definitely, ma'am. I will continue where Dr. Kavita have stopped. Okay,
Okay.
I'm asking a question to you. When you are getting married, no? Okay, if you have just imagine that you have got a child, you are employed, right? Okay, you are employed, and your husband is also very much employed. You are cooking, some breakfast in the morning. Okay, during that time, the child is creating, so many troubles to you. So what you will do? It's a very interesting question. You never ask the panelists to ask questions to you. Am I right? Yes. Most of the parents, you very well know, aware of that. In order to have an interactive this thing, I just ask. They are giving the mobile to them.
Yeah, true.
So actually, the parents are responsible for this kind of, mobile addiction. No doubt about that. It should be used creatively.
Absolutely.
See, electricity can be used to, get the light. It can also used to give shock. Right? The bomb, the atom bomb also can be used to produce electricity, right? And also can be used to, spoil the people as a bomb. Likewise, exact value of the things which they are doing should be taught to the parents. So nowadays, they are really, the prison of a self. But whereas they are not enjoying the other things because they are not comfortable sitting inside, they don't want to do creativity. Am I right, ma'am? See, I will tell a joke with the permission of Dr. Kavita, right? Whether she is hearing or not, because we are all married, right? See, now my wife is thinking, what? No, absence of somebody also can give happiness, right? Absence of somebody also can give happiness. It may be the thought about Dr. Kavita's husband. My wife is thinking that after 1 hour, this cooker person will come and join. See, the thing is, you should understand that when a person's presence or when the person is enjoying certain things, definitely he will understand the value of the particular thing. Am I right, Kavita, ma'am? See, now presently, the adolescent or the students are not understanding the value of the education because they are not really able to go outside, chit-chat with others. They are not able to, play with them, but they are supposed to sit in a particular place and to have this webinar and other things. So they don't understand the value of it. If they want to really develop the interest towards a particular thing, they should really understand the value of it. Whereas the parents, what they are doing, do it, compelling. And Kavita ma'am, as far as the adolescents are concerned, the most hated thing, as far as people are, it is nothing but advices. The parents are giving advices and advices and advices. So they are not interested, naturally. And they are very much really bored. The most question came when I was doing online counseling. Dr. Uncle, we are bored. What we have to do? In fact, see, the thing is, they are not utilizing the time properly, creatively. That's why they are bored. Let us give the, importance of the time in a life so that time itself means it's a fraction of, your life itself. So once they understand the value of the time, they will use it creatively. Whereas now the adolescents are not understanding the value of the time. Kavita ma'am, you have got a watch? Do you have a watch?
Not now.
No, not now, but you are wearing, some metal object anyway. I'll talk about that later. See, the thing is, since I want to talk about the watch of Kavita ma'am. If it is losing, she can buy. But if the time is lost, you cannot buy it back. If you lose money, it's only money. If the time is lost, life is fast. This concept, the value should be taught to the adolescents so that they will really understand the value of the education and the creativity of the time, because they have got a lot of time. So they are just wasting the time. Instead of that, parents are really, spewing them to do certain things, that too by pressure. It is not possible as far as the adolescents are concerned. That is what we used to part as education. I think Kavita ma'am and Anubha ma'am also will agree. We cannot advise adolescents. Am I right, ma'am? We have to give, really the action-oriented programs, and they should understand the value of it, value of the time, value of the, the education, so that they will involve. But one thing I want to tell you, if the cricket series is going on between India and Australia, they are prepared to, spend time up to 1 o'clock. Australia, okay, it will only come in the morning, whereas in the case of England, they will watch up to 1 o'clock. So they are enjoying. So we should give a value to the adolescent or the students, that the importance of this kind of education in this particular situation, so that if they are understanding properly, definitely they will involve, their creativity will be more. Definitely they will, rather do online education and other things. But ma'am, I'm proud to say that see, irrespective of my heavy schedules with the, this hospital, I have done so many online courses also. Yesterday also, I have completed dementia course from Australia. See, this is a elder person's, experience share. I am a down-to-earth person. If I can do it, definitely the youngsters also can do. Why not ask our Anubama to certain courses? She is so young, ma'am. So that once the value is understanding, they will understand, the more creativity will come. By really the parents, if you are not really able to share these things to your adolescent, because the most hated thing as far as the adolescents are concerned, it is nothing but the parents. You get the help of a, good counselor, a psychologist. Dr. Kavita ma'am is there, Dr. Anupama is there. So many people are there. See, they will share how to do, so that they will come to a creativity. I think Kavita ma'am, explain the things in such a way. And also I want to tell you one more interesting thing. Mind is a garden, right? Mind is a garden. Have a 4 walls also, and there is a gate also. There is a gatekeeper. The gatekeeper should allow what are the things should come inside. That is what Kavita ma'am was explaining in a different way. What are the things it should, what are the things should enter into the garden? What are the things should be prevented? If you educate the adolescent and youngsters, even we people, this will be very good, so that they understand the value. In fact, I indirectly answered the question. Value, added, see, counseling or such sort of sharing of experience. If you are parting to the adolescent, definitely they will use this time creatively. And also we should see that they are exercising properly. Because if the exercises are not there, naturally their boring will be, much. They will think a lot of time. When the time is a lot, naturally you will think lot of things. So when you do exercises, naturally the positive hormones, I think Dr. Kavita ma'am can give more explanation regarding the positive hormones coming in the brain. They will do more creativity. This is the answer which I want to give. I think I have given you the correct answer. That is what I think. Okay. Very Anubama, she missed.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your 2 bits on this particular aspect. You're absolutely right. I'm in fact, honestly, to answer your question from before, I am doing certain courses from Coursera myself. So it's been really great, and getting some certificates.
I will send you so many, certificates and the link to you so that you can do it. Yesterday, I have completed from Australia, dementia course.
Okay, that's wonderful, sir.
Yeah, I'll share you. You do it.
Absolutely, sir. I think it'll be wonderful for you.
My question is, I don't have any personal agenda. I want to see that the youngsters are good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your response. So, taking from what you said earlier right now, sir, the concept of the mind is a garden, it takes me back to the conversation that we were having prior to going live, actually, all of us. about how you said that guided meditation can be a really good way for de-stressing yourself, sorry, and finding yourself more happy. And to which Kavita ma'am added that therapy is a great way of overcoming a negative situation, and that it should be normalized in society. And some recommendations by Dr. Arti, as to how healthy, consuming some healthy drinks, or like focusing on our diet could be really great. So now my last question is actually posed to all the panelists, based on the conversation that we were actually having before going live. Is that what is the one thing that you would recommend to maybe maintain a healthy mind and body? Let's start with Dr. Kavita.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole idea, I mean, in the discussion when we were having before the conversation was like I mean, most of the people have a problem with building up the resilience. There is no acceptance, if there is something happening, because there is a very strong feeling in one's mind that end of a positive situation will lead to a negative situation. This is the usual thing, right? So we are in a positive situation, and the end of it, there's something negative is going to happen. It could be like, I have a job, I lost it, so it's something negative to me, okay? Or probably I was in a relationship, I don't have it anymore, so a negative relationship again. Probably I had some property, I had to sell it, which I don't have it anymore, so again it's a negative situation. So the mindset of people is so much attuned to the thinking process that the end of a positive fact leads to a negative fact, right? So what we have to really understand, an end of a positive situation necessarily need not be a negative situation. It could be a new situation for opening up new avenues. This is something we have to understand. So in the therapeutic process, it's a resilience technique. We call it the closed doors and the open doors. In this process, what we usually do, we ask a client to write a narration. The narration is actually picking up some negative event in their past, and how did they overcome that particular event, and how did they feel that event later. With this, I mean, we are trying to give a positive thought. We are planning to drive a positive thought into a client's mind that every negative action that is happening right now is not because of the absence of it, but it is because of your own thinking. So, I mean, I'll tell you like how you need to do this narration such that it is a resilience building technique. Here, the client would understand that, there are positive aspects that are lying front. So the end of a closed door is opening of a new door. So the client has to take up the past experience where the client has faced. And he has to write down the whole narration of it, like what happened and how was it, and what were his emotions when he had all those things, that positive emotions, right? That is the intro part of the whole narration. Then coming to what has happened in between that, the person has lost the positive aspects like what he had earlier, and what were his emotions and feelings at that point of time. Right? So that's a mid part of the narration. Now, once he writes that, now he has to write again, coming to the end, what did he think, and how did he arrive at that solution, and how did he make that solution, and what are the benefits of finding that solution, and what are the big positive things that he has found from this new solution. And write again all his emotions and feelings on that. By doing so, a person who is facing a failure, it could be a relationship failure, it could be a career failure, it could be a financial failure, it could be losing out the purpose on life failure. It could be that. It could be anything. A person who has this, and we train them, we ask them to write as many narrations as possible, taking up the intro part of it, mid part of it, and then the end part of it, and see himself standing in a more positive tone. Because what usually happens when a person, when the mind starts feeling negative, we do have a concept, I keep usually mentioning this again and again, called the negativity bias, where the mind has a habit of looking at a 10% problem into a 100% problem and feels hopeless and feels that it's the end of the possibility. The moment mind starts perceiving a situation as an end of a possibility, there's no point that the person can move forward.
Agree.
By writing narrations like this is a therapy. By writing narrations like this, a person would understand that getting into a problem is not the first time. We have been into problems. We have been into problems. We have overcome those problems and we found solutions to those problems, which means that our mind is capable enough to solve the problems. So this is something that a person, any person, it could be an adult, it could be an adolescent. We need to start writing narratives on ourselves to understand ourselves better, our attitudes, our abilities, our perspectives, our problem solving abilities and our decision making capacities. All these factors come into mind because once we are in a negative situation, we are blocked on these and we don't see the possibilities. We don't see the possibilities for solutions. I think this is one therapy which I would strongly recommend to each and every person, who can try it out to see themselves in a better profile and who can become better problem solvers.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kavita. I think that was a wonderful share. I think just the way that we somewhere follow negative patterns in our life, this is a wonderful insight into how we can actually record narrations on the positive patterns in our lives and look back at that at a certain point of time, reflect, and actually, gain that confidence within ourselves to power through these issues. I think that's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Now moving on to Dr. Aarti, you were sharing certain things about how we can maintain a healthy mind and body through the use of some, healthy drinks that we can, especially when it's so hot out. We're a tropical country wherein most of the countries right now going through a summer. So, something to drink would actually help the body replenish and mind replenish. You were saying something about that, Dr. Aarti. If we could just address that here. So what would you recommend, Dr. Aarti?
Ma'am, unmute your mic, ma'am.
You're not audible, ma'am.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Yeah. See, I think I can share one combination which is very relevant now and which has been advised even by the Department of Ayush, which will help people to what they call improve the immunity, so that there should not be any fear of getting diseased. Of course, each person is unique, and one factor or one combination which suits a person may not suit each and everyone, but in general there are certain combinations which should suit everyone. That one combination which I would like to suggest is, it is a combination of 4 drugs. That is, one is Tulsi. Everybody is very familiar. All these are easily available medicines. One is Tulsi. Tulsi to be taken 4 parts, and Dalchini 2 parts, dry ginger 2 parts, and pepper 1 part. So these drugs to be powdered, and about 3 grams of powder should be dissolved in 150 ml of hot water, and that can be taken once or twice daily. And people should remember that certain people who have got very hot temperament, we call it is the visheshan of pitta factor in the body, they may not be in a position to tolerate very spicy. So if this powder, if they feel that it is too spicy, they can reduce the dosage. Otherwise 3 grams will suit most of the people. Okay, so this is one combination which can be tried by each and everyone, whether you are in a containment zone or otherwise. This can be tried, because this will be helpful to reduce the phlegm factor, and also it will help to increase the appetite and help to eliminate the waste from the body. And one more thing I would like to suggest is that as Dr. Kavita told earlier, fear is one which will increase all our problems. In Ayurveda it is mentioned that Vishado Roga Vardhananam. That is, if you list out certain factors which will increase any disease, this fear stands first. So there should not be undue fear, there should not be undue stigma. because the positive attitude is what is most important, because only then we can follow any good regimen. If we are too much stressed and fearful, then we'll not be able to follow anything that is good. So I hope everyone will follow good regimen as mentioned in Ayurveda, not only for this particular season. Once the COVID season ends and we can go back to our earlier pattern of eating whatever is available, that should not happen. At least this should be, this is the high time that each and every individual should follow the system of this land, that is Ayurveda, so that for the generations to come, it will be helpful. Thank you.
Truly, truly, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Dr. Aarti. I think we have learned a lot from you today with regards to, Ayurveda and its benefits, and especially in a time wherein everybody is clearly being able to see the benefits of Ayurveda all over again during this time, during COVID-19. Everybody is trying to look at home remedies. I think it's wonderful, all the insights that we've received from you today. Thank you so much for your response. Now, lastly, Dr. Raghunath, coming to you. You have been very, very, say, interactive in your entire session. And now is a time when I'm going to ask you for a special request. You were actually mentioning about, guided meditation and how it has helped people around you in, de-stressing themselves and feeling happier and healthier. So, sir, at this point of time, I would like to request you to maybe, give us a little glimpse of what it is that we were talking about, give our audiences a little glimpse about what it is that we were talking about earlier to this.
Okay, Dr. Anumama, see, the problem is, in fact, I used to do in my clinic, I'm trying the Zoom also. Let us hope that it will work. I don't know whether it will work or not. Okay. Only thing is, whatever I am saying, you have to follow it. That's all. That is, meant for other people who are hearing. Okay. See, the thing is, if you have having, chapel or something, remove it and see that you are placing total your legs there. In the earth. Okay. That's the first thing which I want to tell you. And see that like the Kavdam, is sitting very straight like that. Sit like that. Okay. And if people are believing in God or something, they can sit in Chin Mudra. This is called Chin Mudra. Am I right, Kavita ma'am? My knowledge is limited. Still, I would say it is Chin Mudra, or you can sit in like a receiving pose. Okay. Loosen all your muscles. Okay. You can open your eyes. You can loosen all your muscles and only hear my voice now. Now do one thing. Just focus your eyes to the upper floor or something. There is, building, you can watch it. Okay. With your open eyes. Okay. Now, after some time, you will feel a little bit of, trouble in your eyes. Now, slowly you can close it. Close it, Kavita ma'am, first. Yes. Now you have closed your eyes. You are comfortable. We are loosened our all muscles. Just listen my voice. Just concentrate your leg, fingers, especially the thumb, which is loosened. No muscle action there. Concentrate other fingers. Yes, it is also loosened. Concentrate your legs, your joints. Oh, our mind is going upwards. It's all loosened now. Our joints are also loosened. Now our mind is coming to the thighs. It is also so loosened. Our legs are not at all heavy. It is not at all heavy. Our mind is totally there, concentrating our legs. Legs are not at all heavy. Now our mind is just coming to our stomach. Stomach is so relaxed. Oh, what happy moment. Stomach is so relaxed. No acidity is producing. All the stomach muscles are relaxed. Oh, our internal organs are relaxed. There is no heaviness in the stomach. We are just enjoying the moment. Now we started concentrating our fingers and hands. It is also loosened. Oh, no weight at all. moving towards the mind to the upper portion of the hand. It is also so loosened. Our legs are so loosened. No muscle, the same problems. Hands are loosened. We are just coming to the chest portion. It is also loosened. We are just concentrating our now the breathing. Breathing, you concentrate. Yes, your breathing is now a little bit of difference you can feel. Deep breathing started. Now you can understand that at the tip of the nose, when you are taking the air or the oxygen, little bit of, coolness at the tip of the nose. When you are, breathing out, there is a little bit of hotness feeling at the tip of the nose. Just concentrate your breath. Concentrate your breath. Our body is so relaxed. We are so happy. Relax. Just concentrate your breath. I am going to count 30 to 0. Just concentrate on the 30 to 0. Just listen 30 to 0. Unconcentrate your breath. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our breathing is changed. We are deeply breathing. Though you can hear my voices, you are, in the conscious mind, but you can hear my voices. But our body is totally relaxed. Relax and enjoy. Relax and enjoy. Now our concentration is, we are shifting to our neck. Neck muscles are also relaxed. Just concentrate your cheek. It's also so relaxed. Just concentrate your mouth. Oh, it is also so relaxed. Just open your mouth and just put your tongue outside. Oh, it is also relaxed. Now just concentrate your eyes. Your eyelids are so heavy. Though you can hear my voice. If you are doing it properly, your eyelids are very heavy. Now concentrate your brain. Oh, it is also so relaxed. Our total body is so relaxed. There is no way we can find. We even can fly. We are relaxed. So relaxed. So relaxed. Relax and enjoy, my dear friends. Just concentrate your breathing. Relax and enjoy. Just 1 minute, just 30 seconds. You will not hear my voice. Just concentrate your breathing. Yes, my dear friends, I like to give you a certain positive affirmation. We can face anything in our life. We will fight and finish the problems. We will fight and finish the problems. We are so confident. We can achieve happiness by our own methods. We are so confident we can fight any problems. We will fight and finish. We are so relaxed. Our actions are going to give happiness. You are a new man from today. Do this exercises regularly. I will count from 1 to 5. Once I say that 5, you can open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anubhava ma'am, slowly. Kavita ma'am opened earlier. I can see. Is it worked, Kavita ma'am? I want to
Yes,
hear
sir.
that
Yes,
again.
sir. Yes, sir. Pretty relaxing, in fact.
Very well for me.
Yeah.
I was also involved. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. It worked so wonderfully for me that it's been being difficult for me to maybe switch back to this session. I went so deep inside that, was feeling so relaxed.
If you are sleeping, I will come and awake you, no problem.
Okay, all right. So with this, we've reached the end of our very, very interesting, maybe amalgamation of psychology and Ayurveda and meditation. I think today was a wonderful session with ICANN Conversations. I would like to lastly again thank all our panelists for coming in today. Dr. Kavita, thank you so much for your insight. Dr. Aarti, thank you so much for coming on board. And thank you so, so much, Dr. Raghunath. I think the guided meditation was a wonderful and a beautiful touch to just perfectly end things.
That is the biggest compliment I received from my
I
life.
was your Sorry, sir.
That is the biggest compliment I
hear
received.
you.
No, yeah, the biggest compliment I received
Thank
from
you. Thank you so much. Very, very, absolutely, sir. All right. So with this, we've reached the end of our ICANN Conversations for the day. And thank you to audiences for joining us. And I am the facilitator, Anuradha Deshpande, on behalf of Vishuddha, A New Living, signing off. Thank you so much for coming in, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care.
मुश्किल है अनपढ़ी ये कैसी कठिन घड़ी सहमी सहमी जिंदगी बिखरी हुई बंदगी मानवता है पुकार रही दिखाएं हम दरिया दिली I can you can we can India can I can you can we can India can हम सब मिल जाए तो मिलकर हाथ बटाएं तो टल जाएगी ये घड़ी झूमेगी फिर से खुशी आशा टूटे नहीं हौसला रूठे नहीं साथ ये छूटे नहीं मंजिल दूर नहीं मानवता है पुकार रही दिखाएं हम दरिया दिली I can you can we can India can I can you can we can